we're talking about the totally non-sexy topic of hiring and working with lawyers. Ferris here. This is a two-part mini-series. I'll cover finding a good lawyer in this episode, and in the next one, I'll cover hiring and working with lawyers. When it comes to protecting you, your family, and your business, including your hard-earned money from unscrupulous actors and frivolous lawsuits, a good lawyer is a lifesaver. Let me start by saying that nothing I say on this YouTube channel should be construed as legal advice. Always seek advice from a competent professional. You can thank my lawyer for reminding me to make this statement. First, find a good lawyer. Cost should be a consideration, but not your primary one. A lawyer with depth of knowledge can be a bit pricey and yet can save you tens of thousands of dollars, not to mention save your mental health. While you may not have a lot of legal needs initially, besides establishing a legal entity and setting up an operating or a partnership agreement, over the course of your business, you'll definitely need to find a legal partner who'll be there for you. Your needs will evolve. Could be related to intellectual property, IP, employee and contractor agreements, vendor and partner contracts, sales and master service agreements, or even immigration lawyers. You may later run into scenarios where you need specialized attorneys for taxes, compliance, or M&A, mergers and acquisitions, just as an example. A good attorney has a network of attorneys they'll bring in when the specialization is required. In working with attorneys, there's a belief, at least I had this belief, that a lawyer will tell you exactly what you should or shouldn't do. But a lawyer whom I've worked with for over 20 years and a good friend now always reminds me that he's there to offer advice and identify risk. It's up to the business owner to learn what risk they can tolerate. At the end of the day, you have to make a business decision. The lawyer is not going to do that for you. So back to what I mentioned earlier, let's look at 4 considerations in finding a good lawyer. Number 1, ask your network for names of lawyers. As I always remind entrepreneurs who don't leverage their network enough, don't be shy to ask around. Check with your friends, partners, advisors, or an incubator you're part of. They're likely to give you a good recommendation. I suggest you first exhaust your network and referrals before you go to online portals. But if you have to, engage with someone who has great reviews and engage them in a small project first. This way you get to know them and understand their approach, how they bill, and ensure there's overall chemistry there. Second consideration, look for lawyers who have experience in your field. You want a lawyer who's very familiar with your work and the inherent risks involved. You can't afford to hire your freshly barred cousin Vinny when you need knowledge and experience. An attorney who has years of experience in your vertical knows the ins and outs of nuanced details on what your potential customers expect from their vendors in terms of liability, insurance requirements, and indemnifications. He or she can negotiate these aspects on your behalf and save you a lot of money and hassle. In addition, I also recommend that you look for an attorney who's worked with similar sized businesses, as well as businesses that are the size you'd like to be. These lawyers have been down the road and know where the worst potholes are, invaluable insight you cannot put a price on. The third consideration, find a lawyer who's familiar with your state's regulations. Every state has its own set of complex business guidelines and laws. You'll want to work with an attorney who's licensed in your state, up to speed on the ever-evolving regulations, and who keeps a pulse on ongoing cases that could change how you do business. I'll share a painful example. California had changes in vacation carryover laws, so we needed to update our employee handbook. Cash flow was tight at the time, and for that reason, we decided not to spend money on counsel. We ended up using some simplistic wording in the employment handbook to incorporate the new laws. A few years later, when we were in the process of selling the company, this simplistic wording caught the eyes of the acquirer's legal team as a potential liability. And this led them to hold back a sizable chunk of money, basically till the statute of limitation expires on this perceived compliance issue. All because of one line in the employment manual. I'm not exaggerating. The fourth consideration, find a reliable attorney who can help you structure your business properly. If you're on your own, are you going to run the business as a sole proprietor? Do you know if your next step is to become an S Corp, maybe a C Corp? Should you incorporate in your state, Delaware or Nevada? Yes, you can incorporate online and save a few $100, but a good attorney will walk you through the advantages and disadvantages of the various incorporation options, potential tax benefits and implications, and likely make a recommendation you might not have thought of. So those are the 4 considerations for hiring a lawyer. Again, they are: ask your network for references, look for lawyers who have experience in your vertical, check to see if the attorney is familiar with your state's new regulations, leverage an attorney in setting up your business structure. In the next video of this mini-series, we'll talk about the process of seeking the guidance of a trusted attorney when developing partnership agreements. If you have other tips on working with attorneys, leave a comment or ask a question about a topic you'd like me to cover in future episodes. And on giving back, here's something that won't take a lot of your time, but it's super helpful. When you're speaking with attorneys, many of them allocate a number of hours every month for pro bono work. Ask them to support one of the nonprofits you work with and make an introduction.